In Iraq, at least 68 people have been killed by unknown gunmen during prayers in a Sunni mosque. The attack comes as Islamic State jihadists advance in the northwest of the country. The militants, formerly known as ISIS, occupy large swathes of territory in Iraq and Syria. Having launched airstrikes against the group in Iraq, the US is now considering doing likewise in Syria. That's as France's foreign minister is calling for efforts to cut financing to the Islamists. But his appeal comes at a time when the number of jihadi supporters is growing in France. Polly Boyko reports.
According to a new poll, 15% of French people say they think positively of the Islamic State. For 18 to 24-year-olds, that figure is even higher. While their government sends weapons to help the fight against jihadist extremism in Iraq and is rallying world powers to help stamp out caliphate ideology, it's estimated that around 700 French nationals have gone to become jihadi tourists in Iraq and Syria. And that's raising concerns over what's in store when they come home.
You could see on September 11th, 2001, that a few bad apples can create big troubles. You had only 19 terrorists and they killed 3,000 people. And imagine that now you have at least 4,000 people coming from Western Europe in training camps in Syria. If all these people come back, they could create big trouble.
In May, a French-Algerian jihadist armed with a Kalashnikov shot dead 4 people in Brussels' Jewish Museum. He'd recently returned from fighting alongside jihadists in Syria.
These are generally young fighters. They're young people. They're radicalized through 2 ways simultaneously. Either they meet somebody through an internet chat forum or on the internet who is an Islamist radical first, or they meet them in person first as a result of travel to some of these countries.
But there's also a third way, and that's through France's prison system. Muslims are thought to account for over half the country's prison population. Many inmates come from communities blighted by poverty and unemployment, and they can be easy prey for jihadist recruiters, which means that an increasing number of young men are coming in here as petty criminals, drug dealers and thieves, but they're coming out as Islamic fundamentalists. Around a fifth of the French jihadists fighting in Syria and Iraq are Islamic converts.
Je suis votre frère à Allah, Abu Abderrahman. Je suis français, de père français et de mère française.
In Paris, people are struggling to get their heads around the phenomenon.
I think we do have a problem with extremism, but it's a broader problem about France and integration. It's not just a problem about a religious problem. It's also what is France, and I think we are struggling to find our identity.
They are French, so why are they still going there to fight? Maybe it's more like a crusade, yeah, something very like a moral kind of battle they have to. So this is worrying, honestly.
Some analysts now say that the French government has to tread carefully over the situation in Iraq to avoid angering radicalized Muslims at home.
I think that they could become very angry, and I think that the government is very careful. If they do something besides sending food, water and some guns, they will have much more trouble here.
The French government's already fought Islamic militants in Mali, and now there are fears that the rise of the Islamic State in Iraq could be inspiring a new generation of would-be jihadists in this, the European country with the largest Muslim population. Polly Boyko, RT, Paris.
Well, it's not just France that's seeing a flow of volunteers to fight alongside jihadists. According to recent reports, around 500 UK citizens have joined the ranks of Islamic State. Journalist Jonathan Steele, who's written extensively on the Middle East, told RT it's the government's policies that are stirring jihadist sentiment.
One of the crucial things is that the British government and the people who go out to fight in Syria are in one sense on the same side, because they're both opposed to the Assad government. The new Foreign Secretary recently appointed, Mr. Hammond, said that there was no way that Britain would tolerate, it would work with with Assad. And so the British government is on the same side as people who go out to fight in Syria against Assad. Obviously, the British government is not supporting beheading of people and, some of the atrocities that have been committed, but they are, in the broad political sense, on the same side. And that's also one reason they're hesitant to prosecute these people or to take their position, to assume that it's automatically a bad thing.